And there was a couple different design, like mascot ideas too for what was going to be Sonic. Like there was a bunny at one point. There was an armadillo, which later became Mighty the Armadillo.
Oh. And he was very much forgotten in the fandom.
No. The fandom remembers him. Sega doesn't.
Oh, well.
And then the other one was like a Theodore Roosevelt-looking guy in pajamas who became Eggman.
Oh, that's fun.
And Sonic originally had like a girl, like a human girlfriend in a band. It was a really weird, like early phase.
I thought his band was his brother and sisters.
No, that's a different Sonic.
Oh, okay. Oh wait, that's like the Sad AM, right?
No, that's also a different Sonic.
Oh shit! Why is there so many fucking Sonics?
So why is there so many Sonic continuities? You should say.
Yes, why?
But
why all Sonic? Why?
Yeah. So Sonic was obviously a mega success because Sonic was like the start of. Hey guys, I'm Bill, also known as the Barbecue Games on Instagram.
And I'm Alex, his sister, who brings only chaos.
And together we are the Gaming and Collecting Podcast, a mostly video game centered podcast.
But half the time, we just talk about anime.
And that collecting thing, well, that's mostly just an implication at best.
So come along and enjoy us on this adventure
as we discuss the games that shaped us. So, how you been?
Well, I've been pretty good. Life has been pretty good.
Yeah, it's been like 2 weeks since the last time we podcasted.
Yeah,
kind of.
Well, we did a whole bunch like beforehand with like the holidays and stuff. We were able to record a whole bunch. So last week we tried to record this podcast and we just gave up because it wasn't working.
Because she was exhausted.
Yep.
And the connection was ultra shit. But mostly because she was exhausted.
Yeah. There's just some points where you just can't do it. And that was just one of those days where we just couldn't do it.
Yeah. But that's beside the point. I guess we can catch up on a few things that happened in between these 2 weeks.
Sure. What's been...
So you want to go first?
No, you can go first. You can go first.
Alright, so... I worked. I worked a lot. Well, it's weird. For a while it looked like we were coming to the end, but all of a sudden I got told at the end of today that I might be moving to a different department pretty soon, so...
Oh.
I don't know what that means, because things still look kind of bleak, but I might have a job for a little longer.
The department is out the door. To the left.
No, I'm moving... It sounds like... I don't want to say anything in case anyone I know listens, but it sounds like I'm going back to my old department, but I'm going to be working days.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like they're getting some work in, but this is just what I've been informed, so wait and see.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, been a pretty short week. I've been on so in preparation for a series of upcoming podcasts, me and Alex have been actually playing RuneScape.
Yeah.
And I've been on a bit of a binge as of late. But I've also been I've been also binging anime at the same time.
Oh, what have you been watching?
So, in the span of these last 2 weeks, I've since finished My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu.
Nice.
Take that off the list.
Woo.
Very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. I've since finished Hayuka. Also very enjoyable. And I'm currently finishing off the Ace Attorney anime because I've never finished the final season.
Ah, it happens.
Well, I started watching it and then I got distracted.
Yep.
And then I kind of forgot about it.
Yep.
But I have like 10 more episodes, so I'll probably finish that up tonight. And I'm still watching Yashahime because that's finally dubbing again.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, it's been pretty chill. Mostly just relaxing.
Yeah. Nice.
So how about you?
So I've been good. There's been a lot going on with my professional life, but I don't want to go into too much detail until it's all completely finalized. But some good things are happening. So eventually I'll give more detail, but for now we'll just say some good things are happening, some positive things, but just waiting for it to be all finalized. Woo! But other than that, like, it's been pretty good. Like, we've had on and off snow, but nothing, like, too crazy. Like,
Oh, it snowed today, like, nonstop.
But you know what's weird, though? It didn't snow here.
Yeah, I know. No, it was an ocean. It was ocean. It was like
it probably
like
got
ocean
on,
effect.
It probably got on, like down by the coast of Connecticut, but I'm so inland that it doesn't really make a difference.
So I looked at the map, and it was mostly just like Cape Cod, like the Plymouth. It was all coming out the inside of Cape Cod.
Wow, that's fun. You guys
it was
just got
weird.
hit. I know, Mom was.
But it was weird because it was like dust. Like it wasn't even sticking. Like there was a pile of snow in my car, and I literally blew on it, and it blew off the car.
Yeah, it was like that very.
That's how light
powdery snow.
Yeah, like driving around, it just blew off. Like it was nothing. I was like, this snow isn't even like bad. It's just annoying.
Huh. Yeah. Well, I guess other than that, anime-wise, I actually was taking a break from anime, and I did my yearly Jersey Shore binge, where I just watch all of Jersey Shore because it's so trash.
She watches her classic cancer TV. Yep.
It's so trash, but I love it. I love how trash it is. Well, it's just funny because I'm just like, wow, people like this exist. It's just crazy.
And it's not a parody. It's real.
No, it's real. Like it's
these people exist.
No, these people existed and they lived, and I'm just like, what?
I watched like 2 seconds of it once when you were watching it. I'm like, this doesn't even look staged.
It's not. They just show. It's great. It's great. But
this just looks like an actual shit show.
It was an actual shit show, but it was a marvelous shit show. It's like my guilty pleasure show. But other than that, I don't know why, but I was just in this.
See, your guilty pleasure is Jersey Shore. Mine's watching like disaster shows for some reason.
Well, I did watch some anime though. I actually I don't know why I did this, but I was just like, you know what? I just really want to watch One Punch Man again. Because I love One Punch Man. Oh, I don't know if I ever told anyone about my One Punch Man figure, but I did get one from One Punch Man. I got Tornado from One Punch.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because she's a great character. But I rewatched Season 1 and Season 2, and I thought I saw somewhere about Season 3 potentially coming out, so maybe that's why it stemmed. But after I finished Season 1 and Season 2, I was like, well, now I gotta watch something else. But I'm like, I kind of like watched a ton of One Piece, and I'm like taking a pause, because like I'm almost caught up. I think I only have like 100 episodes, and then I'm caught up, which like 100 sounds long, but in One Piece standards, that's not a lot for me. So, so I started watching Dragon Ball Super, and I know I watched it at one point. I started watching it, and then I dropped it. I think when it was like first coming out, but now I'm watching.
So before the dub.
Yeah, maybe before the dub. But I'm watching it now, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so funny. Like, like the best scene. You showed it to me the other day, though, too. But the best scene is oh no,
I forgot my tractor.
And just like all of the like funny, there's so much funny moments that I didn't realize. So
it gets. Wait until you get to the like. There's like an entire like section of nothing but filler, but it's all good filler. Especially the baseball episode.
Oh boy, I haven't got to the baseball episode though. I'm currently on.
It's a good ways in. Like it's not even. I'm looking at my DVD sets now. The baseball episode isn't until like volume 7.
Okay.
So
I'm currently.
It's a good ways in.
Episode 22.
So you're in the middle of the Resurrection F arc, which is only like volume 2.
Yeah. So Frieza just got back, and then Ginyu just like took over someone's body. He was like a frog.
Oh yeah, because he was still a frog.
He was a frog.
Forgot about that plot.
So he just took over someone's body, and now he's beating the crap out of Gohan. And then,
Sounds about
and then
right.
meanwhile, Goku and Vegeta are just on the cat guy, Beerus' planet. Oh, speaking of Beerus, I found this sick figure of Beerus, but guess how much money it was?
Was it as much as your
No,
JoJo's
it was
figure?
more. It was like $600. And I was
Nice.
just like, holy shit, like that's a cool ass figure, but also, no, I would not pay $600. I did spend. Oh yeah, I didn't tell anyone about that figure. So I bought a new JoJo's figure, but I also bought Bill a figure. It was at my local store. They posted it on the Facebook, and I said,
Not so much bought, more you picked up.
yeah, I picked it up for you, because you paid me back.
I just transferred her the funds.
Yes, but I got it's a Jonathan Joestar figure, and it's one of those ones they made where they were like almost like bust of them, and he has like his off coloring, like his green coloring, and it's pretty sick figure, I will say. It's probably my coolest figure that I have, but it was very expensive, rightfully so, because it's a gorgeous figure. Like, it's amazing.
Yep.
The quality is like, it's very JoJo's. If you've seen JoJo's figures, they're very, very quality. But I spent, I didn't spend $200, but it was close. It was close.
And then I bought a pop figure yesterday because I saw it and I wanted it.
Oh, another thing too is I was with you on the phone when this was happening. I was talking about I was showing my figure to Mom that I just bought, and then I was discussing the Dio figure that I have that I haven't been able to figure out how the stand works, and I finally figured out I was putting it on the wrong foot the whole time.
Sounds about right.
Yep. So
So I guess what are we drinking today on this wonderful podcast?
so I have nothing pre-made. I made my own drink. I made a Moscow Mule. Do you hear that? It's the sound of me
Wonderful.
swirling the ice because I made it and mixed it myself. It's okay.
So
I put a
I'm-
little too much vodka in it, but it's fine.
That's good. So I'm being boring and I have not a seltzer today. I have a Sam Adams Alpine Lager.
Oh.
Brisk and smooth.
Oh,
It's okay.
I did forget to mention, too, it's not just a Moscow Mule. It's in the authentic copper mug, too.
Wonderful.
very-
Was that the one you got for Christmas?
No, I already had some tinier ones.
Oh, okay.
Not the gigantic one I got for Christmas. That would be excessive, and I would be wasted.
Yep.
But
I never took this pop figure I bought out of the box, so it's still just sitting
what was
here.
it? Oh yeah, it was from Ruby, right?
It was so I was getting my comics and it was I noticed it and I wanted it. It was a Blake Belladonna from Ruby.
Oh, I did see a Ruby. Isn't that the same one I saw at the figure store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite character, so that's kind of funny how that
Yeah,
worked out.
it was funny. Like I saw like that, and then I saw the last Inuyasha figure that you would need to complete it, your set. But
Well, technically there's Toa and then there's Sesshomaru too.
oh,
I think there's a Kikyo.
oh,
too,
the
actually, now
Kikyo
that-
one actually just arrived too. I just saw that on Facebook this morning.
That's funny.
Yeah, so save up your money and collect them all.
I don't have room for these fucking things.
Neither do I. Well, I have my
Yeah, but you have shelves.
Yeah, but they're slowly getting more and more filled.
See, I have one shelf, but it's also technically a DVD shelf, and that's slowly getting filled.
See, but I bought like risers specifically so I could put more figures, but it's still just as full, even with the risers. But they do look awesome now with the risers. Especially my favorite one is the one with Luffy, Ace, and Sabo, and then I raised the unfortunate light behind it. That it's unfortunate because it doesn't work. But it's the thought that counts, and I love it.
Oh yeah, I saw an industrial. You're gonna love this. I saw an industrial like glass like company van driving around yesterday, and I was driving behind it. And I looked up for a second, and I noticed it had the One Piece logo on the back, just like plastered there right next to the logo.
It had the Jolly
I was
Roger.
like, oh,
That's their
Yeah.
fucking boss. They're great. You should have made friends with
I
them.
was like, I wanted to get a picture, but it was like, we were driving it was on a highway, so I was like, this is probably a bad idea.
Yeah, probably would have been a little difficult.
It's just funny. I didn't notice it right away. I was like, oh, hey, I know that.
I recognize that because my sister is insane.
But anyways, we do have a topic for this episode.
We do? I thought this was just the rambling podcast where we ramble and you guys...
Well, we're gonna be rambling, but... So, we like to talk about video games sometimes on this podcast. Sometimes it's anime, sometimes it's not. You get the drill. But we do like to talk about video games sometimes.
Yes.
And an interesting topic in video game history, which has been somewhat interesting as of late with the modern era and indie developers in particular, but one of the most key parts of early gaming, in my opinion, was the video game Mascot.
Yes.
And mascots were kind of a huge thing for a while, and they got very crazy there for a while. Like, every company had to have a mascot, regardless of success.
Yes.
So I figured it'd be kind of cool to go down kind of, not really super in order, but like just kind of talk about all the different like ones that we can think of and just kind of give impressions over the history, because it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, there is a ton of these things.
Well, I feel like there's probably... Well, I'm looking at Wikipedia, and it's showing me a list, and it's like 129 total.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of I'm looking at that now. I'm kind of just scrolling around,
Yeah.
but so it's kind of funny. So when I was thinking about this, I'm trying to think like what the first real mascot truly was, and it's kind of debatable. I mean, if you want to get like super specific, you could say the Pong paddle,
That is something.
or maybe the Space Invaders ship. But I mean, if you want to get super into it, I think one of the most early recognizable mascot would have to be Pac-Man.
Pac-Man, the yellow guy. Who goes...
Namco's
Waka, waka,
the mascot of Namco, who most people don't even at the time think is the like, when you think Pac-Man, you don't immediately think Namco, especially back then. Nowadays he's Bandai Namco.
Yes.
His mascot. But you know what was always funny about Pac-Man?
What?
In Japan, he was originally known as Puckman.
Puckman.
But they changed that because they were worried that vandals would modify it.
Fuck, man.
You could yeah, you could assume the rest. Because Puckman looks like a hockey puck or a pizza in some ways.
Yeah.
But Pac-Man is like the simplest mascot, and he is still around to this day. Like, he's in Smash Brothers. I mean, he's had multiple TV series, multiple spin-offs. Like, I mean, he's been in 3D platformers, arcade titles, side-scrollers, 3D adventure games.
Yep.
Spin-offs. He had his whole family added. Do you remember the cartoon from back in the day?
I do remember that.
I remember the cartoon because it was really weird. Like, the art style was super... It was like Hanna-Barbera style. And I remember because, like, he had a hat.
I'm trying to see that Pac-Man animated
cartoon. Well, you're gonna find that, and you're gonna find the CG one, the Ghostly Adventures one.
Oh, this is... Oh, I kind of hate this from what I see. Oh, wait, maybe I think that might actually be a YouTube poop. That might have been a YouTube poop.
If it's a YouTube poop, it might actually be the thing, just...
Oh, God. Oh, no,
worse.
I think it was... Oh, my God. Why the fuck is his face like that? And why does he have a child, and a weird cat?
Because he has a wife.
His wife is... I hate it. Ugh.
Yeah, it wasn't the most attractive looking cartoon.
This is off topic, but, like, just looking at these reminded me of, they ruined the green M&M.
Why?
They made it... She's not sexy anymore. Everyone's complaining. So... Was
she ever?
So remember how she had, like, legs and, like, those high-heeled boots? They took her boots away. Now she wears sneakers. And everyone's upset.
I have to look this...
No,
You're making me look this up now.
Look it up. Look it up.
Oh, why? It's trending.
Yeah,
Why?
I told you.
It's the same thing, just with yellow guy legs.
She's wearing sneakers. What the?
Okay.
Where are her boots? Her fancy boots.
It's a piece of chocolate. Who cares?
The internet very, but also.
Meanwhile, the brown one
that's,
has.
Yeah, that's exactly. Why does the brown one?
That sounds weird. But anyways.
Why does the blue one?
Okay, let's move on.
But,
I don't want to talk about M&Ms.
But doesn't she kind of look like the M&M though? Well, yeah.
A little. I mean,
they got matching boots, but now they don't match anymore.
Anyways, moving on. So after Pac-Man, then it gets kind of like, it's kind of debatable, like who had who from Mascots. Mm-hmm. And I believe, like, obviously the most obvious one after that would be, say...
It's a me!
Mario. Or, actually, no, technically Donkey Kong.
Oh, true.
First.
Technically Donkey Kong.
And Donkey Kong was funny because Donkey Kong actually spawned, like, a lawsuit that almost ended Nintendo.
Yeah, because it was over King Kong.
Yeah, Universal sued Nintendo over copyright infringement. Mm. And then Nintendo fought back in court. And it was later proven that Universal had earlier on had a similar lawsuit to prove that King Kong was public domain. Ah. So they could make a movie.
Yep.
So in reality, they were just being dicks, and like Nintendo won by a lot.
Yep, rightfully so.
And that was like the start of Nintendo becoming the superpower they are today.
Yep.
There's a great documentary about it by the Gaming Historian on YouTube. I'd check that out if you want a full story. But yeah, Donkey Kong was huge. But honestly, the bigger player in that whole game was the side character.
Yep.
Known as, at the time, Jumpman, who would later go on to become Mario.
Mario or Chris Pratt.
Yeah. I'm more of a Bob Hoskins guy myself, but or Captain Lou, for those who know.
Chris Pratt.
But yeah. So Mario is like Mr. Video Game in a lot of ways. Did you know Mario was supposedly named after like the landlord for Nintendo of America?
What the hell is this?
What? What are you looking up?
It's a Donkey Kong costume, but it's the worst thing I've ever seen.
Donkey Kong was kind of goofy back in the days too, before the redesign, the famous Rare redesign.
I hate it with a passion.
And so it's like Mario gave us obviously like Mario Brothers, which spawned his twin brother Luigi, and Mario really became like the game that really started what I like to call the mascot like explosion on the scene.
Alright, I need you to do me a favor.
What?
Go into the Google Drive. There's a new document waiting for you. It's just under the main folder, and it's just called Cursed. Just look at this. Just look at it.
Under the main folder?
Yes. Go in like the main hub. Like, just click on Gaming Collecting Podcast and you'll see it. It's Cursed. It's right above episode.
It hasn't come up yet.
Ah!
Oh, there it is. Oh my. So the problem with this is the body proportions do not match the head.
Everything is wrong with this. Please add this to the thumbnail.
It's too late. It's already.
You should add.
Made.
You know, you can do 2 pictures at once. Just have that as like a second picture when you slide through.
I don't really want to. I don't really want to look at this anymore, so I'm going to get rid of it.
Did you delete it? No. Okay, good.
No, I moved away. But anyways, so yeah, moving from Donkey Kong, you get Mario, and then Nintendo then at this point starts creating like a slew of mascots.
Yep.
Because then you also get the Legend of Zelda series with Link.
Yep. And Zelda.
And then Yeah, but who remembers Zelda? Most people think Zelda is Link.
That is true.
Then you get Samus from Metroid. And then Kirby.
Kirby.
And that's really, those were the big ones for the NES era. And then moving on from Nintendo, then we go to direct rival Sega.
Sonic
And Sega initially...
Heroes, Sonic...
No, not yet. Sega initially had a
Shit.
mascot known as Alex Kidd,
Oh.
who was like a monkey boy. And that was like their character for the Master System era. But
Oh.
he kind of bombed.
Yeah, I can see why, because he kind of sucks.
Well, no, his games were fine. They just...
His design kind of sucks. I hate
It was the 80s, so I mean, give it some slack, but...
Yes.
So yeah, Alex Kidd kind of... Like, he did have a Genesis game, too, but it was kind of meh. Well, I mean, it wasn't meh, but it was more just, like, it wasn't anything special compared to, like, Mario. So then Sega goes to the drawing board, and then they create the team of Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima create Sonic the Hedgehog, who was...
Hero.
So Sonic's design is bizarre, because it was originally drawn on a napkin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like a sketch you can find, like Naoto Oshima drew on like this napkin. The reason he's blue is because of the Sega logo.
Oh.
And then his shoes were famously inspired by Michael Jackson because of the buckles on the side, and Santa Claus because of the red and white.
Napkin sketch. I'm like looking it up.
And one of the other famous things was the whole reason why he couldn't swim was just because they thought hedgehogs couldn't swim, even though they can.
Oh, womp womp.
And there was a couple different design, like mascot ideas too for what was going to be Sonic. Like there was a bunny at one point. There was an armadillo, which later became Mighty the Armadillo.
Oh. And he was very much forgotten in the fandom.
No. The fandom remembers him. Sega doesn't.
Oh, womp womp.
And then the other one was like a Theodore Roosevelt-looking guy in pajamas who became Eggman.
Oh, that's fun.
And Sonic originally had like a girl, like a human girlfriend in a band. It was a really weird, like early phase.
His band was his brother and sisters.
No, that's a different Sonic.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, that's like the Sad AM, right?
No, that's also a different
Oh,
Sonic.
shit, why is there so many fucking Sonics?
So why is there so many Sonic continuities, you should say?
Yes, why?
But,
why all Sonic? Why?
yeah, so Sonic was obviously a mega success, because Sonic was like the start of... So mascots were kind of a thing before Sonic. Mm-hmm. Obviously with like Mario and such, like Mega Man for Capcom.
Yeah.
Hudson Soft's had Bomberman, like a whole bunch of like certain ones. Konami had like Castlevania characters, like... I guess Konami's is funny because Konami's mascot is Solid Snake.
What a guy.
But, yeah, but before that, the mascots were kind of, for the most part, were just kind of like cutesy. And then you get, Sega comes out with Sonic.
Yeah.
And it was like, at that point, then all of a sudden, like, the floodgates would open. And you got the era of, like, the edgy
the
mascot.
edgelords.
Where it's like, not so much edgelords, more just like the cool, hip, and edgy.
Oh, wait, that's Shadow.
Yeah. So, of course, following Sonic, then we get the copycats. So there was... I guess we're going to going into some of the more, like, the one-offs or, like, kind of forgotten ones. There was one called Awesome Possum for a while there, and he was...
Awesome.
This fast-moving possum character who... His entire game was a Sonic ripoff, but the whole game was designed to be like a spoof on... Not a spoof, it was designed to be like about the environment and stuff and like saving the world, the planet.
You know what's funny though? Is like... It's like he's supposed to be a possum, but he looks more like a raccoon.
Yeah.
He has more of a raccoon tail. Like possums have like a pink rat tail.
Yeah. And then... Another one from that era, you also had... I'm trying to... there was also... Arrow the Acrobat, which was Iguana Entertainment's thing, and it was like a squirrel that did like acrobatic platforming things. And they also had a spin-off called Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ugh. Arrows. Cursed looking. What the
There was another crazy one called so there was a company called IREM.
Yep.
And their mascot was Rocky Rodent.
Rocky
who
Road.
was like this like his whole gimmick was he had like
Ew.
crazy hair and he'd use his hair to attack.
Ew, I hate him.
Yeah, he's not great either.
Yeah, it's horrible.
You can see these all were spawns of Sonic.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think, what was another crazy one? You remember from our Jaguar episode there was Zool the ninja.
Oh,
that was a Gremlin Graphics
That's
mascot.
what I was gonna say.
Now, from a design standpoint, Zool actually isn't that bad. I kind of like Zool.
Yeah, no, Zool's not that bad. His female counterpart is a little. Ugh.
That was a different time.
Yeah, and he's also sponsored by candy, so, but not really,
Yeah.
but kind of, but not at the same.
That game was fun though.
No, it wasn't.
That fun.
That was like impossible to play.
Well, the original was fun,
Okay.
I should say.
The one I played, not so much.
Yeah, that one. And then, yeah, so Tengen had our wonderful friends at Titus Software, the creators of Superman 64. They had Titus the Fox,
Titus the Fox.
which I believe was actually a reskin of another game.
Oh, Titus the Fox. There he is.
Yeah.
He looks so. His face is so like. It's very 90s.
Yeah, there's some questionable ones. Oh, and then there was also another fun one that gets forgotten nowadays is Bonk.
Bonk?
He was the mascot for the TurboGrafx 16. He was also a Hudson Soft kind of character nowadays, but he was a caveman, and his whole gimmick was rather than jumping on enemies, he would smack them with his head.
He looks like Charlie Brown.
Yeah, a little. His games were really fun though. He disappeared basically after the Super Nintendo era.
He looks like Charlie Brown and Krillin.
A little. And that guy from that really weird Cartoon Network show.
Oh, like the yellow guy?
Yeah, I forget the name.
What is it?
Something Showdown.
Yellow guy cartoon.
Xiaolin Showdown, that's what it was.
I want to see if this works. This doesn't sound right. Oh no, there's a lot of. Oh, I found him. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
He was
that
not
was
the
Bonk.
first character to pop up.
I'm sure he wasn't. But yeah, so then I guess to wrap up the 16-bit era, because I mean there was a ton of these things, but the most infamous by far was Bubsy. Bubsy Bobcat. The most. He was so extreme that he had an exclamation point on his shirt, damn it.
No, Bubsy. Why does I just typed Bubsy Bobcat, and I didn't even finish typing it, and the first thing that pops up is fan art.
Yep.
I'm gonna click it.
Be careful, don't go too far.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh, there's a Sonic version.
I'm sure there is. But yeah, well, she does
Oh,
that. So
Jesus.
Bubsy was.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, get out of there. But anyways,
I can't
so
stop.
Bubsy was. Do you really want to see that bad?
I just want to see how cursed people get.
It's the internet. It gets pretty cursed. But as I was saying, so Bubsy was the creation of Accolade.
Yeah.
And Accolade was weird because they were like always the company that just made kind of. They always existed, but their games were always like second best to something else. Like when I think Accolade, I think like the Test Drive series, which to me was always just a poor man's Need for Speed.
Yeah.
But aside from that, Bubsy was clearly trying to jump on the trend of Sonic.
Yeah.
And we'll probably get deeper into Bubsy at another point, but
Yeah, because
his
he
game,
wants
his
to
first
do a
game,
whole podcast on Bubs.
because there is a lot to go into, and I don't want to really go that far into this, just because there's a lot more to say that we could go for. But Bubsy's first game was okay, not great, but not bad either. But oh man, they just kind of went downhill fast from there. And he got a reboot like years later for no reason.
Why not? Wasn't that on like the what was it on?
PS4,
Yeah.
PC, Switch.
All cursed.
No, he got two. He got two.
Oh, you got two. Wow, he's
yeah. The second one actually is pretty good though.
Oh, okay.
I said it. I said it.
You said it.
But anyways, before we move on, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Oh, I found the Sonic and Bubsy kissing fan art.
And we're gonna cut it off there. Bye. And we're back.
We are back. I made
Okay,
Bill look at the fan art.
Yeah, I saw it, and that's the internet.
I've just decided for everyone that we're looking up, I'm going to look up the character with fan art next to it just so I can see all the cursed imagery.
Wonderful.
You're welcome.
All right. So, so there isn't really a particular order to this podcast. I'm kind of just going off of the ones I can think of, kind of for the eras. And I guess going into the 32, 64-bit era, the next major one I could think of was Rayman.
Ah.
And Rayman is interesting because Rayman was the mascot of Ubisoft. And during the 90s, Ubisoft was a really fucking bizarre company in a lot of ways. Like, they would publish pretty much anything, and they just had some odd games they put out.
Yep.
But they also made their own games occasionally. One of them was Rayman, which was created by one of Ubisoft's designers, Michaud Ancel, I think his name is. And so Rayman was originally intended to be a Super Nintendo game.
Yep.
But it was eventually upscaled to the Jaguar because the Jaguar was significantly more powerful than the Super Nintendo at the time. Believe it or not. And so the Rayman was designed for the Jaguar in mind, although it was eventually ported to also the PlayStation and Saturn and PC shortly after just because they were more powerful.
Yep.
But even the Jaguar version, as we talked about in the Jaguar episode, is a phenomenal looking game. And Rayman is known for its... So the original Rayman was a 2D side-scroller. And it was notable for its extreme difficulty for the time.
Yeah.
Especially. But it was also notable for its bizarre sense of humor and beautiful 2D graphics.
Yeah.
Like, the game looks phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And it has such a charming style to it.
And it's still beautiful to this day. Like...
Yeah, even the Jaguar version.
Yeah. It's still a gorgeous game to this very day.
And Rayman would do I'd say very well for the time.
Oh, yeah.
It basically put Ubisoft on the map as like a legitimate developer.
Yep.
And publisher. And we'll get into Rayman some more later. The next mascot I can think of from this time. So the Jaguar was around, but then we also had the other entry. Another game system we've talked about in the past was the Panasonic 3DO.
Yeah.
And the 3DO had a handful of ideas, but the one that stuck with the world the most was Gex.
Gex.
Now, Gex wasn't really a mascot for the 3DO. He was the mascot, at least for a little while, of Crystal Dynamics, the company that created him. And so Gex...
I looked up fan art again.
I'm sure it's interesting.
So cursed.
All right, let's be fair here. Gex 3 literally has a sex scene in it, so let's...
What? Wait,
yeah, there's a well, it's, you don't see anything, but it's heavily implied.
No, guess what popped up?
What?
Gex X Bubsy face.
I'm sure it did.
I was literally the third row down. No, I'm kidding.
No, but Gex 3 has like a full motion video like female like actress in it as like Gex's like partner and sidekick, and they literally, it ends with them like about to get on the bed and get busy. It's so fucking weird.
What the hell? That's so weird.
Yeah, especially because it's full motion video woman and CGI gecko.
CGI gecko.
Yeah, because that's cool.
I mean,
it was removed from the N64 version.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
But yeah, so aside from that, aside from that oddity, Gex is a platformer like most, pretty standard for the time. Like his first game was side scroller, his later games were 3D. Because we were getting into the point of 3D mascot platformers now.
Yep.
But Gex's whole gimmick was he would spout off
pop culture
and pop culture like references. So Gex is incredibly nowadays. Gex is super dated, and the only reason he's remotely popular is because of a Scott the Woz joke. But no, I'm not even kidding about that. I on Reddit on the game collecting board. This is a little off topic, but I posted my Gex collection because I actually have most of the Gex games like, and all the systems they were released for, just as a why not collection. But I posted them on Reddit, and literally the entire thread was nothing but Scott the Woz quotes.
Oh God! Wow.
And a few people who were actually serious. It was really funny.
That's funny.
But aside from that, Gex is super dated, though, as I was saying. Because some of those quotes, it's like playing it nowadays as a kid who didn't grow up in the 90s or even the 80s to a degree. Who's going to get these jokes?
No one's going to get those jokes.
Like in the first game, like whenever you'd go into a level, he'd always be like, he'd make a joke like, "Hey Scoob, where's the mystery machine, man?" or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that one's a little timeless, but at the same time, it's like, this is so cheesy. The second game, though, when they went to 3D, is where it got completely out of control.
Yep.
Because that one's got a ton of, like, hilarity. Like, one of my favorites, like, jokes that, like, will never, like, won't make any sense nowadays is, like, the one where he's like, "Hey, I'm here for the real world interview." It's like, what kid's gonna get that one?
None.
Well, actually, I think they're actually rebooting the real world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they actually are bringing that back,
well,
so maybe that one will make sense. Maybe that'll make sense.
You know, now it will make sense. Now people will get it.
There's also some jokes that are very products of their time. Like one of the most well-known jokes in that game I can think of is Gex can catch on fire, and his comment will be, "I'm flamin'," in the manly way. Yeah,
no.
That ain't gonna won't fly nowadays.
That won't work nowadays. That would be very frowned upon nowadays.
I always hear that one, and I'm like, yeah, that like this was a '90s game, all right.
Yep. Yeah, you really look back at the '90s, and you see a lot of things, and you're like, wow, can't do that nowadays. Like, whew.
Yeah, but I also miss the '90s a lot because it was a lot more fun.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like sometimes like.
But there's one of the best jokes in Gex, though, in my opinion, is there's a level that is like an utter shithole. Like it's like just like a dump, like wasteland, and Gex just pauses and goes, "Ah, New Jersey,"
with a Jersey Shore. No, I'm just kidding.
That one always makes me laugh because I'm like, okay,
so specific. New Jersey.
But yeah, so Gex was definitely a product of his time. The games are still fun. Like, they're great games. They're just very 90s in every way possible.
Yeah.
And I guess moving on from Gex, then we're starting to get into like the 3D era of gaming.
Yep.
So of course, like going back to Rayman real quick, we also had Rayman made his jump to 3D by this point.
Yep.
With Rayman 2, which is one of the most ported games of all time.
Oh wow.
Like, Rayman 2 is, like, on everything, I swear. Like, Rayman 2 was, like, a game, was an early game for both the DS and the 3DS.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, Rayman 2's been around, and then... So, yeah, Rayman continued his popularity. And then we start getting into more of the newcomers, so... Another interesting one was Croc.
Croc.
Do you remember Croc?
No.
So Croc was the creation of a company called fuck, I'm forgetting their name right now. One sec.
So I googled Croc mascot and it popped up with like Crocs the shoes, and it's the worst thing I've
Yeah.
ever seen.
But no. So, well, the games. Look up Croc Legend of the Gobos
I will
or Gobos.
after you
but,
see this. I'm adding it to
Well,
the cursed folder.
As you're doing that, I'll continue.
Yes.
So Croc was the creation of Argonaut Games,
Yep.
and Argonaut Games or Argonaut Software, I guess, is sometimes they're referred to. They were actually the company that. Oh, that's terrifying.
Did you see? That's what
I hate that. I'm moving away.
That's what popped up.
Yeah, okay. But
What
anyway,
was it called again? It was Croc.
Croc Legend of the Gobos or Gobos, whatever it is. If anyone's wondering, just look up Croc mascot. It's
It's a Croc.
it's cursed.
Oh, I
But
know
anyways,
this guy. He kind of looks like a Donkey Kong character.
So, fun fact about Croc.
Yep.
Croc was the creation of Argonaut Software or Games.
Yep.
That was the studio that actually worked with Nintendo to make the Super FX chip, which was used in like Star Fox. Like they're the co-developer of Star Fox.
Oh, that's cool.
So, one of the reasons that led to the falling out between Argonaut and Nintendo was Argonaut wanted to make a 3D Yoshi game for either the Super Nintendo or the N64.
Oh, so is this
And
this game supposed to be like what it was supposed to be?
so, yeah, getting to that, Nintendo rejected the idea, and they also around this time canceled Star Fox 2,
Oh.
which was a game that Argonaut put a lot of money into and work into.
Yeah, it'd be.
Which really and kind of fucked them over to a degree.
Yeah.
Granted, Nintendo's reasoning was solid,
Yep.
because Star Fox 2 would have come out very late into the Super Nintendo lifespan. The N64 was pretty much already there.
Yeah.
And they basically took all the ideas, most of the ideas from Star Fox 2, and just made them into Star Fox 64 anyways.
Mhm.
But, yeah, so Argonaut had a big falling out with Nintendo. And then they went on to make their own. They basically took the Yoshi game and made Croc.
Huh.
And Croc. So Croc is one of those games that I feel like nostalgia matters.
Yeah.
Because Croc has not aged particularly well, somewhat.
Yeah.
Croc's controls are very stiff, and the game itself is pretty basic. But nostalgically, it's still a fun platformer
Yeah.
for the time. And he did get a sequel, but he kind of fell off the face of the earth after that.
Oh. Poor Croc.
Yeah, and then we start moving on to, so now we're getting into like the true 3D consoles.
Yep.
So we get the new contenders. We get Sony. We get the new contender of Sony, and then we get Nintendo with the N64. So I guess starting with Sony, I mean we've talked about it in the past already, but Crash Bandicoot.
Oh yeah.
So Crash was basically the unofficial mascot of the PlayStation. So a big misconception is that Sony's mascot was Crash.
Mm-hmm.
It really wasn't ever Crash. He just kind of became the face of Sony
He
at
just
the
kind
time.
of got pushed
'Cause
into
Sony-
that spot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like the biggest character platformer at the time.
Yeah.
On the system. The thing is, though, Sony's never really had a mascot per se. It's really debatable which, if you want to say they do. We'll get into some of the options later on, but Crash was like the big one, and then there was Spyro.
Speaking
And
of
they were based.
Speaking of Spyro, you should take a look at our cursed folder.
I'm-
Do you see it?
It's Crash's face on Spyro's body.
And his shoes.
That's wonderful. But yeah, so yeah, Crash and Spyro were kind of like the first real sign that okay, Sony's here to compete.
Yep.
But then Nintendo comes out with the N64 and they release Obviously, Mario 64,
Yep.
mega success, revolutionizes the 3D platformer, brings Mario into 3D.
Yep.
Then they also bring Zelda to 3D,
Yep.
Star Fox to 3D. They bring all their established franchises over.
What about Kirby?
So Kirby never went 3D, but he had a game on the N64, which was very good.
Okay.
So then we kind of have to remember Nintendo had a ally during this period.
Yep.
A company known as Rare.
Ah.
And Rare made a name for themselves in the Super Nintendo era by giving us the Donkey Kong Country series.
Yep.
Which basically brought the Donkey Kong back and made it just as prominent a character as Mario in all regards.
Yes.
Redesigned the characters, created basically the modern look for the characters. So then, moving on to the N64, Rare is basically Nintendo's go-to for, like, anything at this point.
Yeah.
So Rare gives us the Rare released, it's, when you bring up Rare, there's so many games you have to talk about. But the most iconic by far is definitely Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, yeah.
And Banjo-Kazooie was essentially, it was a Mario 64 clone on the surface.
Yep.
But it does so much more.
Yeah.
And this was the start of the collectathon platformer era. Where there were so many of these games being made.
Yep.
And so obviously we had Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. They also brought Donkey Kong over with Donkey Kong 64.
Nice.
And then they capped it off with, I guess you could say, their magnum opus on the system in a sense.
Yep.
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh, heck yeah!
Which was, in many ways, a self-parody of the collectathon genre in itself. Because Conker was originally supposed to be a cutesy kind of game like Banjo and everything else.
And then they said, never mind.
Well, no, what happened was all the critics made fun of the game, claiming it was just another cutesy platformer from Rare.
Oh.
So Rare was basically like, alright, fine. And they just made it as raunchy as possible.
He's not cutesy.
And one of the most offensive games from the time.
Oh my god.
And it was basically one giant, like...
Middle finger
It was
to
kind
the
of like-
critics.
No, it was that, but it was also like a self, like... It was kind of like a self, like, parody of the genre itself at that point. Like a deconstruction of the parody, I should say. But then we go back to Sony's side of the things.
Yep.
And Sony had its own fair share of different franchises that made the way over. Like, so Crash and Spyro weren't technically made by Sony, but they were made by developers closely associated with Sony.
Yep.
But if you want to talk about a game made by Sony internal studios, we can't not talk about Ape Escape.
Ape Escape. Oh, I just lost my voice for a second. Hello. I'm dying.
But so when I think of a mascot, a PlayStation mascot, the Ape Escape monkeys always come to mind.
Oh, yeah.
And that game was made by Sony in-house, like their in-house studio.
Yep.
And Ape Escape is like still one of those games that it like. When I think PlayStation, it is like one of the defining games that pops up in my head.
Oh, yeah.
And then we also get the medieval series, which had the skeleton, the Sir Daniel Fortescue, who was a skeleton that you'd go through a bunch of like action hack and slash platforming stages.
Yep.
And then we get a couple independents like Tomba. Tomba was a big mascot at the time.
Tomba. Is that like the little like...
The pink-haired caveman guy.
Okay, that's what I thought. I remember... Yep, Tomba.
Yeah. So Tomba was the sole creation of developer Whoopee Camp.
Huh.
And both games are like critically acclaimed, but they sold like ass, and they're like super rare. They are super rare nowadays.
That's funny.
And then another one, going back to Namco, was Klonoa.
Oh.
Now, Klonoa was quite possibly one of the most underappreciated platformers on the original PlayStation.
Yeah. And
because
they're super expensive now, right? Oh yeah, I'm looking at it.
Oh,
it's so expensive.
Klonoa is absurdly expensive nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I paid $150 for my copy. It's like double that now.
Wow, he's very Sonic-esque.
Yeah, they do have very similar styles.
The eyes. It's
but,
the eyes.
Yeah. But Klonoa is cool because they didn't go 3D. They did 2.5D.
Oh, okay.
And it looks so cool because the levels are still 3D. It's kind of like what Kirby 64 did.
Oh,
where it's kind of like a bunch... It's like a 3D level, but you're restricted to a 2D plane.
Oh, okay.
It is a super solid platformer.
Yep.
And it's a shame it is obscenely expensive. There is a remake for the Wii.
Yep.
Which is less expensive, but it's still not a cheap game.
Wow.
And I guess, jumping around now, I mean, the sad part is we're kind of ignoring the Saturn.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a mainline Sonic game on the Saturn.
Oh, yeah.
There was a few spin-offs.
Like the racing one? Like the...
Yeah, there was Sonic R, there was Sonic 3D Blast, and then there was Sonic Jam, which was a compilation re-release. There was supposed to be a game called Sonic Extreme, but it went through severe development hell and never came out.
Ruh-roh.
But, so going to the Saturn, I guess if you're going to talk about a mascot on the Saturn, I guess you'd want to bring up Knights, I guess.
Oh, yeah! I forgot
Knights
about
was arguably... I know, a lot of people have. But, Knights was a really cool game because it was like, it wasn't a platformer, it was like an action kind of side-scrolling game where you kind of fly around these flight-based stages.
Bill?
Flying through like... What?
I googled just Knights, not making the connection that there was other Knights, and the first thing that came up was Monty Python.
That would be a very different game at that point.
That would be a very different game. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, there she... Oh, wait. Okay, I'm not spelling this right. Is it just...
Just type in Knights into Dreams.
Knights into Dreams?
Yes.
Ah, yes. She's like a Jess... Is it Is Knights a girl?
It's androgynous.
Oh, okay.
It's never really... It's not really confirmed.
Alright, that's pretty neat then. Why is there a picture of it with the JoJo character? What?
Why isn't there a picture of it with the JoJo
Well, it's
character?
like her... It's them next to Josuke.
Why not?
It's so random. Like, it's
Yeah.
so random.
But... So, before we move on, I guess, to more modern mascots, I do want to talk about some of the one-offs from this era.
Oh, yes, because there were many, like Buck Bumble.
Alright. The only reason that... Actually, that was by Argonaut 2, by the way.
Oh, what?
The same studio that made Croc. But, the only reason Buck Bumble has any sort of recognition these days is... One, because Ant Dude made it a meme on YouTube, but also the fucking theme song.
The Buck Bumble. It's so catchy, and I hate it. Ugh.
I mean, the game's not that bad, but still.
Oh, it's horrible. I hated it. I hated every second playing it.
Oh, I just realized we forgot about Earthworm Jim.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Earthworm Jim was a solid couple of games. Just because of how wacky they were. Like, there's a point in the level where you knock a fridge onto a teeter-totter which is holding a cow, and you launch the cow into space. It's just so bizarre.
Why not? Didn't he also have a cartoon?
Yeah, and Homer Simpson was the voice.
Oh, I guess another... Does this count as a mascot? The Oddworld series?
Oh, yeah, Abe.
Yeah.
Forgot about Abe. Yeah, I'd say so. Oh, God. Oddworld is... Honestly, I'd like to save Oddworld for its own podcast.
I feel like that would be a cool podcast, because they're such unique games.
you'd have to do some more research. I mean, they're all, believe it or not, they're all on the Switch now, except
Oh,
for
they are?
they haven't put Soulstorm on the Switch yet. I don't think,
Okay.
because that's the remake of the second game.
Oh, okay.
But the remake of the first game and then the two Xbox ones are both on Switch right now. So
Okay. I'll have to do that at some point. Because I do want to play that
Yeah.
at some point.
they're very cool games. Like
Yes.
the story of Oddworld is like, it should really be its own thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Alright.
but yeah, I guess going back and well, we're also at the point too where it's like, do you count like? So I'm thinking, when I think Mascot, I think like obviously the cutesy characters.
Mm-hmm.
But then do we get into like, say, like technical mascots like Laura Croft?
I mean, I guess. I mean,
'Cause
technically, she was. Yeah. Like, she was.
She was the mascot of IDOS for a long time.
Yeah.
And was one of the faces of the PlayStation, even though I think she technically debuted on the Saturn, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, there was that one. It's weird, like, because I mean, obviously Metal Gear was around at this point.
I mean, would the Final Fantasy characters count?
So, Final Fantasy actually does have mascots though, because you have the Chocobos and you have the Moogles.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and the Animal Crossing, the Villager. And
Well,
Tom
we're
Crook.
not.
Okay.
we're not there
I'm
yet.
too early. I'm too early.
Yeah, and then Dragon Quest has the slimes.
Oh, yep.
I mean, RPGs have mascots too.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Squaresoft's mascot pretty much is like the Chocobo or the Moogle at this point.
Chocobo.
But I just wanted to talk about some of the one-offs though. Like, does anyone remember Blasto?
Blasto.
Yeah, Blasto was like a 3D platformer made for the PlayStation, and the game itself is pretty crap.
Yep.
Like, it's not very good. But the only reason anyone remembers the game is because it was like the final one of the final vocal performances
Yep.
of Phil Hartman before he was murdered.
Oh, that's sad.
And for anyone who doesn't know or has been living under a rock, I guess, Phil Hartman was like a famous actor. He was very well known. He was the voice of in The Simpsons. He was the voice of Troy McClure and Lionel Hutz and a ton of like one-off characters.
Yep.
And he's a funny dude, like crazy funny performances. I think his final official role was he played the cat in Kiki's Delivery Service.
Aw.
And I believe he ad-libbed most of his lines.
Oh, wow.
But Blasto is fondly remembered for his performance.
Yeah.
But that's really all it's remembered for, I should say. And then another one from that period was Glover. Do you remember Glover?
Oh, yeah. Glover.
The mascot that's literally a glove.
Well, yeah, because isn't Glover made by the people who made the Burger King games?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
That's how I knew I recognized it, because I remember it being under.
One of my favorite things about Glover was it was advertised on, like, I think the WWE.
Oh.
And it was like sponsored by Glover. Gotta love the glove.
Ugh, that just sounds weird.
Yeah, Glover's not a bad game, but it's so goofy.
It sounds.
I'm trying to think of another crazy one. We also had. I'm looking at my PS1 library right now. There was. Oh God, Rascal. Rascal was a.
Rascal.
Rascal was a piece of shit.
Who's Rascal? I don't remember.
So Rascal was a platformer for the PlayStation 1 that had so much potential, but was ruined by horrendous controls.
Let's see. Oh.
So, the game itself has some really impressive graphical effects.
Yeah.
And like technology behind it. But it uses tank controls.
Oh.
Rather than it's something that Bubsy 3D also had. We'll get to Bubsy at a later time. But it used tank controls, but the game was designed around having traditional controls.
Oh.
And the publisher so this was made actually. Rascal was made by Traveler's Tales.
Yep.
the studio that made like a ton of like the later Crash games and all the Lego games.
Mm-hmm.
They actually wanted to have traditional controls, but the publisher said no, it has to be tank controls because those are popular at the time.
Oh, okay.
They were popular in survival horror and like action adventure games, not in precision platformers.
Ah, womp womp.
Yeah, well, because at one point, even like going back to like Rayman, at one point they wanted to put tank controls in Rayman, and I believe Michaud and Sil said no, that's stupid, it won't work.
No, thank you. I don't want that. Well, good on him, because it might have ruined that game.
Oh, well, it's funny because there's another one-off platformer from this era was a game called Tonic Trouble.
Tonic Trouble.
Which was also made by Ubisoft,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an average game at best, but there's actually a demo version of it out there that was also somehow released.
Yep.
But that version has tank controls and it's unplayable.
Oh. No.
But yeah, so there was another bizarre mascot. Oh, actually, I didn't realize we didn't even talk about Frogger.
Oh, Frogger. Wow. Frogger is a class. Sorry. I'm coughing.
Frogger is a classic, but Frogger has one of the most fucked up, like, histories in gaming.
We could do a podcast on Frogger itself, too.
We could, because Frogger, just to sum the Frogger series up, Konami tried everything to make the damn thing popular.
And it just didn't work.
Some of them worked, most of them didn't, but yeah. Frogger was a mess during this era.
Mm.
But Tiny Tank, that was a mascot.
Tiny Tank, Tiny Tank.
What? You combined it with Spider-Man.
Oh. Well, I'm just having a good
time.
time.
We've talked about Tiny Tank in the past.
We have.
That's another great...
It's a bomb-ass game. We've even brought it to other podcasts.
We have. The world needs to know about Tiny Tank.
They do.
Because it is like one of the most underrated PlayStation games ever made.
It really is. It really, really is.
But I guess moving on now, we should go on to the modern era of platformers. And this is where...
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on to like modern platformers, obviously Nintendo stuck with their tried and trues. We also had the introduction of Animal Crossing.
Yep.
And that fun world. And then Pikmin was another
Pikmin.
new entry.
Oh, that's like the little colored people.
Yeah.
Like the red, yellow, and green. They're in
Yeah.
They're in Smash Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the big ears. Some of them have ears. Some of them don't have ears.
Yeah. No, Pikmin was cool.
Mm.
And then we get to Sony, and then Sony came right out the bat with a trio of mascots.
Oh, okay.
So we had Jak and Daxter,
Yep.
which was Naughty Dog's new series.
Yep.
We had Ratchet and Clank, which was Insomniac's new series.
Wow.
And then we had newcomer Sucker Punch, who gave us Sly Cooper.
Huh.
So Sony comes right out the gate with a big three of freaking platforming kings right off the bat. Because all three of their series were phenomenal.
Yep.
And would get better as they went on.
Wow.
And then you also had like returning favorites like Ape Escape came back.
Yep.
Crash and Spyro came back, but Crash was okay for a while. Spyro had a rougher time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sony also introduced stuff like God of War.
Yeah.
Kind of branched their way out.
Huh.
Now, the interesting one, though, was the newcomer of Microsoft.
Oh. The Burger King.
Yeah. So, when people think Xbox, they immediately think, obviously, like Master Chief.
Mm-hmm.
The guy from Gears of War.
Yep.
Actually, believe it or not, Microsoft just bought Activision, so they technically own Crash and Spyro now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's really weird.
Huh. That is weird.
But, aside from that, they also own Rare, so they own, like, Banjo and everything, too. But
so they own everything.
They own a lot now.
Yeah.
But going back to, like, the early days of Microsoft, the Xbox rediscovering the Xbox as someone who had PlayStation all their life has been fascinating.
Oh yeah.
Because Microsoft had some bangers that nobody talks about.
Huh.
So there was like the obvious thing people would bring up with the Xbox is definitely like Blinks.
Yep.
Now Blinks was probably Xbox's attempt at like a Sonic or a Mario.
Yeah.
Now the Blinks games are interesting because they were actually developed by a studio called Artoon. And Artoon was founded by Naoto Oshima, the co-creator of Sonic.
Yep.
Believe it or not. And so the Blinks games are really cool 3D platformers. They just have some brutal difficulty spikes.
Oh.
But they have a really cool like overall idea. Like one of their gimmicks is like he has time mechanics. Like he can go back in time like in levels if you screwed up, like you can like go forward, like slow down, speed up. They hyped it up as like a 4D platformer. I guess the fourth D is like time dimension.
Yeah.
But it's cool. They're just they have very severe learning curves. But the even more forgotten platformer on the Xbox was a game called Voodoo Vince.
Oh, that popped up.
Voodoo Vince.
He's like a voodoo doll.
It's one of the best platformers I've ever played that nobody talks about.
Oh wow.
Like it has this awesome like soundtrack, spectacular graphics, a cool just design. And the whole gimmick is like you activate your attacks because he's a voodoo doll. You activate his attacks by like hurting him.
Yep.
And it just has such a cool design and it's such a solid game. And nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer. Like and also it's an Xbox game, so it's cheap as hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
But moving on from that, then we get to like this was like another era of like the 3D platformer renaissance, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Because there was a ton of like different games that came out during this point. Like obviously Crash and Spyro continued on. Rayman had a few more games. Psychonauts was a big like 3D platformer from this time.
Yep. I'm trying to think.
Ty the Tasmanian Tiger.
Huh.
He had a whole series of games.
Oh, I know the Psychonauts one. Ty the Tasmanian Ty. I'm spelling this wrong.
It's like TY.
Oh, he kind of looks like the Cheetos guy.
Yeah. His games are okay, particularly the second one. And they're remaking them for the Switch. Well, not remaking, but they're porting them to the Switch now, too, which is kind of cool.
Oh, these were real things? Oh,
yeah.
Tasmanian tigers are sick. Oh, I'm just looking at the
Yes.
actual tigers now.
That's fun. This was also the era where we had KO the Kangaroo.
KO the Kangaroo.
Yep, he was another one-off. His best game was probably KO Round 2. What was another one? There was a bunch during this era.
Sackboy.
No, that's more PlayStation. The next era.
Womp womp. Oh, he was on Dreamcast. KO the Kangaroo.
The first one was. Yeah, the first one was on Dreamcast. The second one was on PlayStation, Xbox, and GameCube. There's a bunch of one-offs too. Like there was Scalar, which was an average platformer that has some cool ideas. There was Dr. Muto, which was like the last official game to be developed by the original Atari.
Yep.
Attack and the Power of Juju. You remember that?
Ugh. Yep.
The first two were okay.
The first two were okay. Just the first two.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah,
else.
I mean... Yeah, there was a bunch of games. Oh, Super Monkey Ball. That was another Sega mascot.
Super Monkey Man.
Yeah, and then I guess after the there was a ton more from this era, but it's like after the PS2 era, then we got to like HD consoles, and the mascot kind of died off.
Yep.
In a sense. Like there was a few exceptions. Like obviously, as Alex mentioned before, we had Sackboy, who was another PlayStation mascot,
Sack
and
boy.
the Little Big Planet series.
Yep.
And
I love
Microsoft had like, oh yeah, those games are fun,
It's so cute. He's so precious looking.
and they're customizable.
Yeah, he's just so precious.
Microsoft had games like Viva Pinata, I guess you could say. And Halo.
In the Rabbids.
Ubisoft, yeah, the Rabbids, which overtook Rayman for a while.
Yep.
You know, I will say that Rabbids Mario crossover game is actually pretty good.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's a tactical RPG. It's actually surprisingly good.
Oh. I have to check it out.
Nintendo was still chugging along at this point. We had a ton of stuff from them. But I guess nowadays, it's mostly like the holdovers these days, right? Aside from indie developers, really.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, indie developers are creating their own mascots. Like, yeah, we had a bunch of the former Rare employees formed Playtonic Games and created Ukulele,
Oh, yeah.
which was an okay platformer. The sequel I liked better, the side-scrolling one.
Wasn't JonTron technically supposed to voice one of the characters?
Yeah, and then he had his thing I don't really want to get into. But,
Oh, yeah. I just remember that being a big topic at one point.
well, he was also in A Hat in Time.
Oh.
His voice is still in A Hat in Time, so
Oh, it is?
make that
Interesting.
make that of what you will. We also had Undertale. That was probably the biggest craze for a long time.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Undertale. I feel like that's so forgotten now.
Well, people still talk about it. It's just it's not the mega thing it was.
Oh, yeah.
You had in time Freedom Planet. Freedom Planet was really good.
Mm.
That was like the not Sonic game.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I just realized we forgot about a big one.
What?
Shantae.
Oh, yeah. Shantae.
Shantae dates back on the Game Boy Color.
Yeah. Shantae's the genie
her-
one, right?
Yeah, her first game that was like wicked ahead, like way ahead of its time. Came out so late, like late into the Game Boy Advance was already out when it came out, and even though Capcom published it, it looked like shovelware at the time, and nobody bought it.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's super rare. It's super rare now.
Huh.
But she's finally got the recognition it deserves, and it like is a full on series now with this like 5 games,
Yeah.
and they're all really good. And all of them most of them are on the Switch. The only one that's not is the original.
Huh.
I think. I'd have to double check, honestly.
Mm.
But yeah, it's like nowadays when I think about it, I mean, other than Nintendo is still redefining like what they do with their games.
Yep.
Because I mean, we got a lot of people say the Mascot games are the era of the Mascot platformer is dead. But then Nintendo comes out with freaking Mario Odyssey.
Yeah. And then you're
Which
just like incorrect.
Yeah, it's like no, it's far from dead. And then Sony comes out with Ratchet and Clank what is it called? Rift Apart, another fucking phenomenal game.
Yeah.
Sackboy's Big Adventure, another phenomenal game. There's been a ton of them. I'm not sure what Microsoft has going on. I don't really pay attention to Microsoft.
Yeah.
The biggest flop I can think of lately was Balan Wonderland.
Balan Wonderland?
Or Wonder World, whatever it was. So that was made by Square Enix. The whole reason it was hyped up was because it was Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima working on a game again.
Oh.
I have yet to play it, so I don't know for sure, but all I've heard is that the game is an utter joke.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I have to play it to have a true opinion on it.
I'm
not gonna...
It looks interesting, but I also could see it's not for everyone.
Well, another thing, too, is the Switch version is apparently unplayable.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
And I have yet to see it for cheap anywhere, so that's why I haven't bought it. I'm not paying full price for it, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I mean, there's probably more that we missed. I'm drawing a blank right now on other ones.
I know. I'm trying to think. We have talked about a lot though, and
I'm looking over now at most of the ones I'm seeing are like stuff that we've talked about already, like Rayman. I mean, obviously, like Rayman had a comeback during the in the HD era with Origins and Legends, with two of phenomenal return to form side-scrolling platformers.
Well, I guess another one. I just looked up Mascots. I don't know if this counts, but the karate guy from it's the fighting game. He wears the white outfit with the red gloves and like brown hair.
That could be so many.
Street Fighter. I think it's Street Fighter.
Oh, Street. Well, yeah, Ryu.
Ryu. I guess. Oh, and then I guess the guy from Halo. He's pretty prominent.
Oh, Master Chief.
Master Chief. He's pretty prominent.
I mean, in a sense. I mean,
he's a mascot for them, Bill.
Well, yeah, it's Microsoft Mascot, even though people don't really give a shit about Halo anymore.
No, they don't.
As far as I know, I can't even tell if Infinite's a good game or not because some people like it, some people don't.
Some people like it, some people don't. Some people.
But yeah,
like it.
Mascots will be a thing forever.
Yeah.
In gaming.
Well, especially in gaming, but I just feel like they're something that are timeless in everything because you have mascots for restaurants and stuff and products and stuff,
Well, I mean, even then though, like you look at companies like Naughty Dog who are making masterpieces like Uncharted and The Last of Us now.
Yeah.
But you still, when you think Naughty Dog, you still think Crash, you still think Jak and Daxter.
Oh yeah.
I mean, frickin' Insomniac is making the modern Spider-Man games, but we're still always going to remember them for Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Sucker Punch Productions, they just made the phenomenal Ghost of Tsushima.
Yep.
But you're still always going to remember Sly.
Oh yeah. Oh, Sly. I hope they make another one of those. Like, such a good
I
game.
hope they do too, because the fourth one ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. They owe us.
Just get him out of the desert.
Yeah.
He's been trapped in that desert for so long.
Poor Sly. Lost in a desert forever.
Well, Sly hasn't had it as bad as Mega Man Legends.
Yeah.
That one, Mega Man Walnut's still stuck on the moon.
Oh no.
Oh, we didn't talk about Parappa the Rappa.
Oh yeah.
Kick, punch, it's all in the mind.
Huh. Yep, he's the rapping guy.
I love the fact that he was in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. That game was a flash in the pan, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I need to bring like a PS3 over to your place at some point, or I got to get you the Vita version so you can experience that masterpiece of.
I would love to experience that.
It's such an average fighter.
Average.
Well, it's good, but it's like such a. Smash Brothers is so much better in every way. Yeah. Kind of game, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely more. But I mean, we could go on for longer, but I think we should wrap it up here. It's over an hour now.
Oh yeah. Wow. I didn't even think we were gonna make it an hour for this one, honestly.
Well, because I didn't realize how many freaking mascots there were.
Yeah, I didn't either until we started talking about them, and we couldn't stop listing them. So, and there probably is honestly some that we missed.
Oh, we definitely missed a ton.
Yeah, we totally did.
But yeah.
Woo!
So, anyways, guys, once again, thanks for watching the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. The Gaming and Collecting Podcast.
I'm just constantly messing him up.
The Gaming Collecting Podcast is made on Anchor Podcasts, and you can find us on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also check us out on Good Pods and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And the episodes usually come out on YouTube at some point, probably a few weeks after. It depends on whenever I get around to uploading it.
Yep.
But until then, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting Podcast, and we will see you all next time. All right.
Oh shit. Well, I kept going. Bye.